You can't just focus on all the good on one person while they're literally actively messing up over here, because you're not holding them accountable. And if they're not being held accountable, then somebody else is gonna think, well, I can act just like them and get away with it. Hi you guys, my name is Cherita. Welcome to my channel. If you have not been following me for a while, you probably do not know much about my views and my beliefs and kind of why I'm here on the internet. So about a year and a half ago, I did a video titled something along the lines of drama channels that are on Jeffree Star's payroll or something like that. That video in itself literally exiled me from the drama community, the commentary community, anybody that was affected by said video. They immediately just hated me, whatever. But now that it's been a while, I kind of want to revisit this whole who is on Jeffree's payroll, who isn't on Jeffree's payroll, who used to be on Jeffree's payroll. Like, I want to revisit all of that. So before I get started, make sure you guys click subscribe for new content whenever I post, and also do not forget to click the notification bell so that you are notified every single time that I post a video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the whole payroll thing. So last year or a year and a half ago or 2 years, whenever I had posted the video, the title of my video was drama channels who are on Jeffree Star's payroll. However, during that entire video, I never said the word payroll. When I posted the video with that title, it was for clickbait, which I mean, literally everybody does on the internet, but also payroll was more of a metaphor. I, at least at the time, never believed that somebody was getting handed a paper check by Jeffree. What I did think was, at the time, when drama channels would not report on him, or they would only report positive things about him, then he would follow them. He would send them PR. He would retweet them, which essentially sends his audience to them. Now, we know on YouTube that the more views you get is in correlation to how much money you make as far as AdSense goes. So, was Jeffree handing them a paper check, or were they receiving the benefits of promoting all of the positive things that he did while overlooking the negative? That was what I considered being a payroll. And as far as I know, in this community, I coined the term payroll because nobody else was talking about it until I brought it up. And then the drama channels took it and used it to their advantage, and then everybody else just started throwing around the word payroll this, payroll that, but nobody really knew where it came from. Hi. And if people were talking about payroll before me, let me know, but I don't remember seeing it until after I had said something. In that video, I did call out specific people, but that was because of the reason why I made the video. I made the video because David Scissorhands, who used to be Jeffree's hairdresser, had accused Jeffree of calling Jackie Aina a gorilla. And everybody reported on that. And by everybody, I mean the bigger drama channels at the time were talking about it. They were talking about how they didn't believe David, and they're, they were just talking about that drama in general, about how David Scissorhands was just trying to get clout, and how Jeffree would never call Jackie a gorilla, and this, that, and the other. When Sam, or Here for the Tea, came out with a video with literally receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt, pretty much proving that Jeffree Star did call Jackie Aina a gorilla, everybody went silent. Now, there are a lot of people on YouTube who are not on Twitter, and I found this out from one of my subscribers. They took everything that drama channels had to say at face value. They were not on Twitter, so they didn't see the antics of what was going on behind the scenes. All they knew is what was being told through these drama channels. So while, no, I'm not forcing anybody to make a video, I'm not saying that everybody needs to make a video, but when something is talked about, when you talk about something as a drama channel, I feel like it is your duty to let your subscribers know what happened afterwards. Because I know a lot of people don't know what happened after, or they didn't have a chance to talk it out with anybody, because I do know that with drama channels and commentary channels that there's a discussion. But if all they did was listen to what the drama channels had to say and then watch Sam's video, but there was no follow-up, I feel as if there was something missing. Drama channels, whether they believed Sam's video or not, I felt like they should have followed up on it regardless of their beliefs. But nobody said anything, and I gave it 2 days. And the reason you're probably thinking, oh, it was only 2 days, you're right. But this was in a time where something would happen, like a tweet would happen, and then 10 minutes later, all of a sudden there was a video up from like 5 or 6 different drama channels. That's why I was like, well, I'll just give it time. Maybe they're collecting their thoughts. But nothing was said, and I was confused, because if I'm watching you and only you, which is my fault in general, because I shouldn't just be going off of what one person is saying and not looking at different sides, but I just don't think they were doing their fans justice by not reporting on what was happening after the fact. So I did call out drama channels by names, but not in a sense of you're on Jeffree's payroll and you're on Jeffree's payroll, but it was more or less like, okay, well, you talked about David Scissorhands but didn't follow up on the video. You did this, you did that. And so long story short, I do want to revisit some of those drama channels that I spoke about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I want to say the drama channels that I said were on Jeffree's payroll were Ashley Kyle, Petty Page, Dustin Daly, Nick Snyder, and Rich Lux. Rich was actually in the thumbnail. Oh, and I think Beauty by Ashley and maybe Sebastian Williams. I really don't remember, and I just watched this video like a day ago. But I do know it was like 6 to 7 drama channels where I was like, okay, you guys talked about one side. Are you not able to talk about the other side? So here we are a year and a half, 2 years later, and all of this information is coming out about Jeffree, about his character, things I've been saying for years. And people are now starting to think for themselves and see like, oh, maybe he's not the person we thought he was. Granted, you can still like Jeffree and support him, but still call him out on things that need to be called out. But I digress. There's been a few channels who actually have kind of stepped back from even really talking about Jeffree, because I think they've seen him in a different light. And from what I can see, that's been Paige and Ashley. Ashley's been very vocal on her Twitter about how she feels. And Paige posted a video kind of calling, not even kind of, but basically calling Jeffree out for trying to manipulate her and for being pretty much a liar. The only 3 drama channels, bigger drama channels that I see that are still on Jeffree's payroll are Dustin, Nick, and Rich. Now, Dustin and Nick have spoken out kind of about Jeffree, but I feel like they've been playing it very safe, and they haven't called him out for his blatant lies, but they've said things about Jeffree being friends with Davi after Jeffree kind of pointed him out to be a child molester. And I definitely have my feelings about why they aren't going for Jeffree's jugular, but we'll save that for another day. And then there's Rich Lux. Now here's the thing about Rich. I used to watch Rich all the time. I've said it before. I used to think Rich was the funniest person, mainly because he talked about every single person the same. If this person did something and this person did something and this person did something, he would call them out all the time. He was funny, he was unbiased, cool. And then I remember when Rich ended up, I think, getting fired from his job or something like that, and he had posted a video and he was very vulnerable. I remember commenting on his video like, hey Rich, you should reach out to me because I feel like I can give you some words of encouragement. I said something along the lines of that. I felt super bad for him. Come to find out, a year later, he lied about why he got fired. But again, I digress. Now, I'm not saying that Rich gets a paycheck from Jeffree, because that's not what I meant when I meant payroll, and that's still what I mean to this day. However, I do know that Rich is benefiting majorly from not talking negatively about Jeffree. And the hypocrisy is literally, it's frustrating at this point. So Rich made a video about Nate. And if you guys don't know who Nate is Jeffree Star's ex-boyfriend. Rich made a video about how Nate should not be promoting merch during the pandemic. He actually said epidemic, but he made a whole video about how it's wrong for Nate to be promoting his merch and this, that, and the other. I kid you not, 2 days later, he's promoting merch by Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. Do you guys not see the hypocrisy? Everybody's been a hypocrite. Everybody. But when it's as blatant as that, does that not show a person's true character? And then we all know that Jeffree has kind of been digging himself in a hole by going on podcasts and basically talking in circles and lying about everything. Now, depending on your morals, Jeffree lying may or may not be a big deal to you. However, I think that it's very imperative that drama channels report on everybody the same way, because I've seen some of these drama channels drag Jaclyn Hill for filth for lies that were not nearly as blatant as what Jeffree is putting out. So I just don't find it that you're doing your audience justice by letting them know about all of their faves. And I do know a lot of times the drama channels, especially the bigger ones, will say, well, how come you don't go make a video on your channel if you're so passionate about it? And here's the problem. I've been making videos for years about this. I have 3,000 subscribers. So my voice is not gonna reach nearly as many people as these bigger drama channels can. And that's the frustrating part. It's not that we're not out here not making videos, because we are, but because of your platform, because how many people you have following you and how many people you have believing you. That's your job. If you don't want to talk about Jeffree at all, that's fine. But it's not fair to these people who are not on Twitter, who don't see every angle. It's not fair to them to just listen to one side of the story. And that's the issue. I do know that people are getting frustrated with Rich, because if you look at the comment section of his newest video where he's literally blaming James Charles for this whole situation when it was Jeffree who inserted himself into the drama to begin with. And then when he went on Keemstar's podcast and Keem asked him about James, he decided to continue to talk about it. Jeffree easily could have been like, well, you know, there's nothing much to say. It's in the past. Jeffree said himself that they made peace with it. Then he goes and throws Tati under the bus, and it's like, Rich didn't mention any of that. He didn't mention any of the blatant lies. It came to the point to where Rich was dragging James's new show, Instant Influencer. But what's funny is, I want to say the very next day, episode 2 of James Charles' show was the most viewed YouTube premiere ever. Do you not see that negativity just isn't the way to go? Because karma is a real thing, and karma always wins. I mean, at this point, I feel like Rich is doing the dirty work of Jeffree. Do you guys remember when Jackie Aina's palette came out and it hadn't been swatched? It hadn't even come out yet, actually. All Jackie did was talk about how She was launching a palette, and the first thing that Rich does is he hops on camera and talks very poorly about the palette. He didn't have it in his hand. He didn't swatch it, nothing. Why are you so pressed about the success of somebody else? That is literal, just direct hate for no reason. No, there was no reason for that video. But Rich has a big enough audience to where he can sit there and say, Jackie Aina's palette is trash, don't go buy it. And people will believe him. And it's sad that it's a numbers game to where I can say something that's factual and truthful and makes people think. I can say things that are articulate, but because of the low amount of subscribers that I have, people aren't gonna listen to me. They're gonna watch somebody like Shallon Lester, who we know is trash, and they see that she has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they'll go, oh my God, everything that she's saying is right. I mean, look at all the followers she has. And that's why I am a firm believer in quality over quantity. I do know myself, the reason why I started my channel is because I used to watch drama channels all the time, and they would focus on just one side of the argument. And I would sit there and think, there's no way that I'm the only person that's looking at the other side, or I'm the only person that thinks like this. And I found a little community, and you guys know who you are, of people that thought and think the same way that I do. Now, it's not a black and white type of thinking, but it's like, but what about, and I know a lot of people say we don't do the what about isms, but it wasn't like, but what about this person who did this, that, and the other? It's like, no, but what about, this is also what he said, not just he was right or he was wrong. It's like, let's look at the bigger picture. And I didn't see a bigger picture type of thinking. And so that's why I started my channel. And I know there's a lot of people out there to where they just want drama channels to hold their faves accountable. And you can still support whoever you want to. You can support Jeffree. You can support James. You can support Tati. You can support Thomas Halbert. You can support Manny and Laura Lee. You can support all these people who have had problematic pasts, but you can't just focus on all the good on one person while they're literally actively messing up over here, because you're not holding them accountable. And if they're not being held accountable, then somebody else is gonna think, well, I can act just like them and get away with it. There needs to be a standard to where it's like, you can't act like this and get away with it. And that's why people are getting irritated at these drama channels. They don't want anybody to drag anybody. What they want is hold these people accountable so that growing up, other people don't think it's okay to act a certain way. I mean, as many bad videos that I've made about Jeffree, I've made at least one or two good ones. So I'm not just dragging Jeffree just for the sake of dragging him. I've made plenty of good videos about James, but that doesn't mean I haven't called him out on things that I think he needs to be called out on. Just because you have to call somebody out doesn't mean that's who they are as a person. That doesn't mean that it demonstrates their character. And people always want to talk about, well, how come you're bringing up the past? We're not bringing up the past. We're bringing up a pattern of behavior. We're showing you this is how they acted then and this is how they're acting now. Nothing's changed. Maybe their vocabulary has changed, but themselves have not changed. And I don't know why I push so hard for this, but it's just so frustrating to see that people refuse to hold their faves accountable, or I don't know if they're just afraid to admit that they don't care about these issues because it doesn't directly affect them. I don't know what it is, but just hold your faves accountable. Like, that's it. I promise. That's all you have to do. The more you hold your faves accountable, the more respect people will have for you. It may not be easy, but has to be done. Let me know if you guys have seen a shift in this whole payroll community, and let's just have a conversation in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. Do not forget to link up with me on my social media. All of that information will be down below in the description box. And until my next video, I'll see you guys later. Bye!